My name is Rebecca, and for 7 years I believed I was building a life with someone who loved me. I was wrong. It was a Thursday morning in late September when everything I thought I knew shattered like glass. The air in Seattle had that crisp quality that comes just before fall fully settles in. I was standing in the kitchen of our craftsman-style home in Queen Anne, the house I'd bought 3 years before I even met Jonathan, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold over Elliott Bay. I'd purchased this house when I was 28, fresh off a promotion to senior marketing director at a tech firm downtown. It had been my dream, my sanctuary, my proof that I could make it on my own in one of the most expensive cities in the country. The mortgage was in my name alone. Every payment had come from my account. Jonathan moved in 2 years into our relationship, and somehow, over time, he started calling it our house, and I never corrected him. That morning, Jonathan was already dressed in his expensive suit, the charcoal one his father had bought him for Christmas. Richard Hartwell, Jonathan's father, was a real estate developer with an empire spanning the Pacific Northwest, and Jonathan worked for him as a project manager. More accurately, Jonathan existed in his father's shadow, desperately trying to prove himself worthy of the Hartwell name. "I need to talk to you about something," Jonathan said, not meeting my eyes as he poured his coffee. His hands were shaking slightly. "What's wrong?" I asked, setting down my own mug. My stomach tightened with an instinct I'd been ignoring for months. "My father wants me to move to Portland. There's a major development project starting, and he wants me to oversee it." He paused, still not looking at me. "It's a huge opportunity, Rebecca. The kind of thing that could finally make him see me as more than just his disappointing son." I felt my chest constrict. "Okay," I said slowly. "That's a big change. When were you thinking we'd move?" That's when he finally looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. It was cold, calculated, almost cruel. "That's the thing," he said. "He wants me to go alone. He thinks you're holding me back." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Holding you back?" He says I'm too comfortable here, that I need to focus on my career without distractions. And honestly, Rebecca, I think he's right. Jonathan set his coffee down with a decisive clink. "This relationship has run its course. We both know it." I stood there, frozen, as my mind raced to catch up with what was happening. "We both know it? Jonathan, we've been talking about getting married. We just looked at engagement rings last month." "That was before my father made this offer," he said, and there was an edge to his voice now, defensive and sharp. "This is my future we're talking about, my career. I can't let personal feelings get in the way of what I'm meant to do." "Personal feelings?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Is that what 7 years means to you?" "You never really needed me," he said, his voice bitter. "You have your career, your house, your independence." My father was right. He said a man can't build anything when the woman already has everything. The cruelty of it took my breath away. "So this is about your ego? About the fact that I had success before we met?" "This is about me finally putting myself first," Jonathan said. "I'm moving to Portland next week. I'll come by for my things this weekend." "Your things?" I said, my voice hollow. "Jonathan, you don't have much here. This is my house." He turned to me then with a smile that made my blood run cold. "Actually, about that, my father's lawyers are going to be in touch. Since I've been living here for 5 years and contributing to the household, I have a legal claim to half the equity. It's common law, Rebecca. You might want to get your own lawyer." I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. "You're going to try to take my house? The house I bought before I even met you?" "It's only fair," he said with a shrug. "I've invested time and money into this place. I helped with renovations, paid for utilities, covered expenses. That counts for something." "You barely paid for groceries," I said, my voice breaking. "I've covered the mortgage, the property taxes, the insurance, everything major by myself this entire time." "That's not how my father's lawyers see it," Jonathan said, picking up his briefcase. "I'll be staying at my father's estate. Have your lawyer contact ours when you're ready to be reasonable about this." The door closed behind him with a quiet click that sounded like the end of everything. I stood in that kitchen for what felt like hours, staring at his half-empty coffee cup on the counter. The morning light that had seemed so beautiful now felt harsh and exposing. My phone buzzed, an email from a law firm, Hartwell and Associates. The subject line read, "Regarding property settlement discussion." That's when the tears finally came. 3 days later, I sat across from Michelle Rodriguez, one of the best property attorneys in Seattle, in her office overlooking Pioneer Square. She was a woman in her mid-50s with steel gray hair cut in a sharp bob and eyes that missed nothing. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," Michelle said, reviewing the documents. "You purchased this house in 2018 before you met Jonathan Hartwell. The deed is solely in your name. The mortgage has always been paid from your personal account. He moved in during 2020, and you never added him to the title." "That's correct," I said. "He paid for some groceries and occasionally utilities, but I have bank statements showing that I've paid for everything major." Michelle looked up. "And he thinks he has a claim to half the equity?" "His father's lawyers seem to think so," I said. "Richard Hartwell owns Hartwell and Associates." Michelle's expression hardened. "I'm familiar with Richard Hartwell. He's used intimidation and legal bullying for decades." She leaned back. "But this case is different. Washington is not a common law marriage state. Simply living together doesn't automatically create property rights. Jonathan would need to prove he made significant financial contributions that increased the property's value." "So I'm safe?" I asked, hope flickering for the first time in days. "You're in a strong position," Michelle corrected. "But the Hartwells don't fight fair. They'll try to drag this out, make it expensive, make you want to settle. That's their strategy. What do I need to do?" "First, we respond with a clear statement. The property is yours, and you have complete documentation to prove it. Second, we gather evidence showing your sole ownership. Third, we prepare for them to get nasty." "How nasty?" "Richard Hartwell digs into people's personal lives, finding anything he can use as leverage. He'll try to paint you as vindictive." I thought about the sleepless nights since Jonathan walked out. "I'm not trying to punish anyone. This is my home. I just want to keep what's mine." "I know," Michelle said gently. "Can you handle this getting ugly?" I thought about that 28-year-old woman who'd signed the papers on this house with shaking hands. I'd fought too hard to let anyone take it from me. "Yes," I said firmly. "I can handle it." The war began the next week. Hartwell and Associates sent a formal demand letter claiming Jonathan had made substantial contributions, including $30,000 in renovations and ongoing expenses that entitled him to compensatory interest in the equity. Michelle responded with a masterpiece of legal clarity. She outlined my sole ownership, attached bank statements showing my consistent payments, and noted that any contributions Jonathan made were consistent with a domestic partnership, not a property investment. The Hartwells escalated. Richard himself called me one evening as I was leaving work. "Rebecca," his voice boomed through the speaker, "this is Richard Hartwell. I think we need to have a conversation." My hand tightened on my phone. "I have a lawyer, Mr. Hartwell. Any communication should go through her." "Come now, we're family," he said, though his tone held no warmth. "You're a smart woman. Too smart to let this situation become complicated." "I'm not the one making it complicated," I said. "I'm simply protecting what's rightfully mine. My son lived in that house for 5 years. He made it a home. Surely that has value." "He had a place to live rent-free for 5 years," I countered. "That had considerable value to him." There was a pause, and when Richard spoke again, his voice had lost its false friendliness. "Let me be clear. My firm has resources you can't imagine. We can keep you in court for years. We can make this so expensive and exhausting that you'll wish you'd taken our first offer." "That house is worth $800,000 now," I said, my voice shaking but determined. "I bought it for $520,000. Every dollar of appreciation came from my investments, my payments, my sweat equity. I'm not giving Jonathan $400,000 because you think you can bully me into it. I've been doing this for 30 years. I always win. There's a first time for everything," I said, and ended the call. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, trembling. I just stood up to one of the most powerful developers in Seattle. Part of me was terrified, but another part felt something else. Strength. I called Michelle immediately. "That was witness intimidation," she said. "I'm filing a formal complaint and documenting this. Richard Hartwell just made a critical error." "What does that mean for us?" "It means we go on the offensive," Michelle said. "It's time to remind the Hartwells that they're not the only ones who know how to fight." The deposition was scheduled for late October in a conference room downtown. Michelle had prepared me extensively, reminding me to stay calm and stick to the facts. Jonathan sat across the table looking uncomfortable, avoiding my eyes. His father's lead attorney, Marcus Webb, was a man in his 60s with silver hair and an expression of disdain. Michelle sat beside me, radiating confidence. Marcus began with basic questions about our relationship. I answered carefully and truthfully. "Ms. Chen, isn't it true that Mr. Hartwell contributed financially to the household?" Marcus asked. "He occasionally bought groceries and sometimes split utilities," I replied. "But I paid the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and all major expenses. But he lived there. He made it a home. Doesn't that have value? He had a place to live for 5 years without paying rent," I said. "In Seattle's market, that's approximately $150,000 in housing costs he didn't incur." Marcus's expression tightened. "Let's talk about the bathroom renovation. Mr. Hartwell spent $15,000 on that project," Michelle interjected smoothly. "Ms. Chen reimbursed Mr. Hartwell for those expenses. We have the transaction records." I watched Marcus flip through his papers, clearly unprepared. Jonathan shifted uncomfortably. "The kitchen renovation?" Marcus tried. "Paid for entirely by Ms. Chen, as the invoices show," Michelle said, sliding copies across the table. "Along with the new roof, the foundation repair, the heating system upgrade, and every other major improvement. We went through it point by point, and the Hartwell case crumbled." "Mr. Hartwell," Michelle said, turning to Jonathan, "when you moved into Ms. Chen's home, did you sign a lease agreement?" "No," Jonathan said quietly. "Did you ever make a mortgage payment?" "No." "Were you ever added to the deed or title?" "No." "Did Ms. Chen ever promise you ownership stake in her property?" Jonathan's jaw tightened. "She said it was our home. As a term of affection or as a legal declaration of joint ownership?" Jonathan didn't answer. The silence was damning. "Isn't it true that your father encouraged you to pursue this claim?" "My father thought I was entitled to something after 5 years." "Entitled to what?" "You had housing, a relationship, a home. What more were you entitled to that Ms. Chen didn't already provide?" "I don't know," Jonathan said, and for the first time he looked directly at me. What I saw wasn't anger, but shame. The deposition ended shortly after. Michelle and I walked to her car in silence. "That went well," she said with satisfaction. "They have no case, and now they know it. So it's over?" "Not yet," Michelle cautioned. "Expect one more push, but they know they'll lose in court." 2 days later, Jonathan called. "Rebecca, please don't hang up," he said quickly. "I need to apologize." I stood in my kitchen, deciding if I could listen. "I'm listening," I finally said. "I was wrong," Jonathan said, his voice thick with emotion. "About all of it. The house, the breakup, letting my father convince me I deserved something I didn't earn. I couldn't sleep last night. I keep thinking about your face during that deposition. You tried to take my home, Jonathan," I said. "The home I worked years to buy." "I know," he whispered. "I'm dropping the claim. I told my father today I won't be part of this anymore." "What did he say?" "That I'm weak, that I'm throwing away hundreds of thousands of dollars, that I'm proving why I'll never be the son he wanted." Jonathan laughed bitterly. "And I don't care anymore. I don't know what you want me to say. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, and that this ends now. You'll have formal notification tomorrow." He hung up before I could respond. The formal withdrawal came the next afternoon. Michelle called, triumphant. "It's over," she said. "Complete withdrawal of all claims. You won, Rebecca." I sat at my desk, looking out at the Seattle skyline, and felt something shift inside me, a deep, settling peace. That evening, I went home and walked through each room slowly. The living room where I'd spent countless Sunday mornings reading, the kitchen where I'd taught myself to cook, the bedroom that now held only my own possibilities. I ended up in the backyard, sitting on my bench. The October air was crisp, the sky streaked with twilight. I finally let myself cry, not from sadness, but from the relief of survival. My phone buzzed. My sister Amy. "Michelle called me. I'm so proud of you, little sister. You're a warrior." I texted back. I think I finally believed that. The weeks that followed were strange. I'd gotten so used to fight mode that peace felt uncomfortable, but gradually, I settled into it. I threw myself into reclaiming the spaces. I repainted the bedroom in sage green. I rearranged furniture, bought new bedding, hung stored artwork. I was erasing our and reclaiming mine. One Saturday in November, I ran into Sarah Mendoza, a colleague at a coffee shop. She was with her wife Diana, and they invited me to a community art class. "I'm not really artistic," I said hesitantly. "Neither am I," Diana laughed. That's the point. It's fun. Something in me said yes. The class was abstract painting. I stood at my canvas, and for the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about Jonathan or lawyers. I was just creating. My painting was terrible, but when I hung it in my living room, right where a photo of Jonathan and me used to be, I felt joy. Sarah and Diana invited me to more things. A book club, hiking, a potluck where I met new people. I was building a new life, one defined not by who I'd been with, but by who I was becoming. In December, Jonathan appeared on my porch holding an envelope. I won't stay. I just wanted to give you this in person. Inside was a check for $3,000 and a letter. It's what I calculate I owe you for rent. And the letter, you can read it or not. I'm moving to Portland next week. The job my father offered, I turned it down. I took a position with a different firm. I'm starting over. That's good, I said, and meant it. I saw on Instagram that you went hiking. You looked happy. Happier than I remember you looking with me. I need to let you go, Jonathan said. Really let you go. You deserved better. He paused at his car. The house looks good. You always had better taste anyway. I read his letter later. 3 pages of apologies and self-reflection about his father's influence, about confusing love with possession. At the end, you were always stronger than me. I hope you find someone who sees that strength as something to admire, not resent. Watching you stand up to my father taught me how to stand up to him too. I folded the letter and put it away. That Christmas, I hosted dinner for the first time. My parents, my sister's family, close friends. We crowded around my table, and it was loud and chaotic and perfect. My father raised his glass to Rebecca, who taught us that sometimes the hardest battles make us discover how strong we've always been. Later, after everyone left, I stood in my living room. The terrible painting on the wall, photos from hiking trips on the mantle, furniture arranged exactly how I liked it. My phone buzzed. Amy, the kids are already asking when we can come back. You were glowing tonight. It's so good to see you happy. I texted back, I am happy. Maybe for the first time, genuinely happy. And it was true. Jonathan and his father had tried to take my home, had tried to make me doubt my worth. Instead, they'd given me something precious. Proof that I could fight for myself and win. Proof that I was capable of standing alone. The house was mine. It had always been mine. But more importantly, so was my life, my future, my happiness. And no one could take those away unless I let them. I turned off the lights and headed upstairs, my footsteps echoing through rooms that felt more peaceful than they ever had. Tomorrow I'd wake up in my home, surrounded by my things, accountable only to myself. It was more than enough. It was everything.